to all the dads, happy Father's Day. A good place to start will be dad jokes.
Are you against pinning kids down while brushing the teeth?
I mean, I've done it.
Kids artwork, fridge masterpiece or secret recycle bin?
We're recycling.
Oh, mate, I've stolen so many nuggets off my boys' plates.
Yeah, when they say I've had enough,
Yeah.
normally you'd be like, no, finish your food. I'm
Yeah.
like, send it down.
Let's start with dad fails.
I was spending too much time on my phone, and my daughter was just like, "Daddy, can you just put your phone away?" And she was only like 3.
Homer Simpson. Do you know like when he just can't get it right?
Yeah.
And do you know there's the odd episode where he tries really hard and he still can't get it right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's me sometimes. And I feel like that's being a parent in general.
You know, how would you say, as dads, we can sort of be emotionally connected and raise them up with a healthy understanding of masculinity?
I can't obviously, tell my son or teach him right now, verbally, but I think I can begin to model what that's going to look like.
Hey, it's Dan and Charlie here, and this is the Young Cubs Parenting Podcast. We're parents of 2 little boys, figuring it out as we go, usually somewhere between the school run and the tube to work.
We're not experts by any means. We're just a couple of parents doing our best on Struggle Street, but we have loved every minute of it, and we want to get better at it. So we'll be talking to some good friends about parenting, faith, life, and the culture we're raising our kids in.
In every episode, we're going to be having honest conversations with people who've walked this path before or are walking it right now, sharing real stories, honest reflections, and the kind of wisdom you only get from doing the parenting thing day in and day out.
So whether you're in the chaos, the calm, or somewhere in between, join us on the journey. Subscribe to the Young Cubs channels, and remember, no perfect parents allowed. Hello everyone, it is Father's Day, so today we've got a special podcast for you. I'm not with my wife, Charlie Blythe, because we're going to have a conversation with a few other dads, and we wanted to make it as real and honest and raw as possible. So with me, I've got a mate that I've been friends with for over 10 years. He owns his own creative agency. He is a gifted communicator, but I think what stands out the best is just his character. He's a man of authenticity and realness, and I'm very grateful for him. So with me is Pebble and Panza. How are you, mate?
Mate, doing good. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being on the show, on the podcast.
Come on.
What do you think? Show, podcast?
Podcast is cool.
Yeah, let's go podcast.
Come on.
Mate, you are a father, and you've been a father for 6 months of the little amazing Maximilian. How are you finding it?
Mate, honestly, I think I've always looked forward to becoming a dad. So I love all the things that you should probably find annoying. I love the crying. I love, sometimes the sleepless nights.
Wow.
And, this morning he wakes up and I just see his face and he's just, I said to my wife, Becky, good job, he's cute. Because I think he was up 5 times last night, which, but I love it. I think maybe perhaps what I find daunting is like the big picture stuff. Like how do you actually raise a human and shape this person? And so I think that's where my mind goes. But I think the day to day, I honestly love it.
You love it. Okay. Well, if you're finding it so easy and fun so far, which
I didn't
is
say
great,
easy.
by the way. Okay. What's been your hardest moment so far?
I think the pressure. I think the realizing that like no one else is going to do this job for me.
Yeah.
Like I am his father. So I feel like my mind goes to like this at times. Every now and then, just feels like this is quite a weight that has some significance to it. You know? So
Do you feel like you've got people in your world who are helping you carry that weight?
I do. I think I've spent a lot of time trying to look at dads and see how they're doing it. How they shaping their kids, and I ask a lot of questions. So I've got this philosophy, the art of a million questions, and so every time I can grab a dad, I'm like, bro, like, tell me, like, how does this work? What are you doing? So I feel like I do, and that's super helpful.
I love that, mate. It's so good. Well, I think we should introduce our guests today. We are very, very privileged and honoured to have Jordan and Jason with us, who run the Parenting Tools podcast. Let's start that again. Is it the Good Parenting Tool? Is this the Parenting
Tools podcast?
Why have I added good? Because it is good.
It is good. Yeah.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
I have got you Father's Day gifts.
Have you?
I have.
Oh, amazing.
I don't know whether your kids will, be bringing you Father's Day gifts today.
Yeah,
so you can open it
Open
now.
it now.
Open it now.
Yeah, right now.
Packaging is too nice to open.
Oh, good Charlie about
Open it
that.
now. Oh, look at this.
Wow.
Superb. That's heavy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the Young Cubs family, boys.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Before we get into, I guess, what we want to get into, just tell us your parenting journey. How many kids have you got? What's it like?
Yeah, so I've got a little boy, Luca, who's 5, nearly 6. Got a little girl, Mila, who's 3, nearly 4. And we've got a baby coming as well in June, another little girl.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So yeah, we're going to be me and Luca are going to be outnumbered come June. So yeah, really exciting.
Amazing.
I've got a 4-year-old daughter called Noah.
I love that.
And that's it.
I reckon a good place to start will be dad jokes. I think we've got to do this, but I guess the idea here is that we actually don't laugh because they're not supposed to be funny. So
Yeah.
let's be as serious as we can. I'm gonna go first. I'm fresh, so I'm 6 months into dad life, so I'm new on the joke. So go easy on me. Why did the baby bring a pencil to dinner?
Why did the baby bring a pencil to dinner?
Because they wanted to draw some attention.
Solid.
Thanks.
That's a good one, though.
Strong.
Yeah, I felt the mouth twitch.
Yeah.
Dan, did you say that your wife's a vegan?
No.
I'd never met her before. Her before?
What'd you call a bear with no teeth? Gummy bear.
Why did the scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field.
It's a classic. How do you make a bandstand? You take away the chairs.
That was so bad.
Oh, got you.
I think the worse they are, the more I find them funny.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Look, my last one I've got locked in my memory. Oh yeah, like cost of living crisis. I've started making my own bread. I've heard there's a lot of dough in it.
That's quite good.
Like it.
Yeah, yeah.
Producers fighting for life.
It's also a true story.
Kieran's enjoyed that one. Amazing.
I'm into that one.
So you guys are the founders and creators of the Parenting Tools podcast, which personally I love. I think I met you guys back in the COVID days. You were creating stuff, it was going online, and it was just like helping me in my parent life. Before we get into some of the nuts and bolts of it, just got a bit of a quick fire round, which I'm going to ask you as well, if that's right. Okay, if your child ran for president or prime minister, what would their campaign slogan be?
Oof, I would go with "We see you."
We see you.
Yeah, because my son, he really, I feel like he looks into your soul, you know, and just sort of, I think he'd be a good advocate, and like fight for people. That's the sense I'm getting.
That's the Maximilian.
And he loves people, so you know, you hand him over, and he's super chilled. So I feel like his slogan would be "We see you."
Nice, Jordan.
I think my son would be something like, "You never have to sit down."
Yeah.
If you vote for me, you never have to sit still. And I think my little girls would be, if you vote for me, you never have to brush your teeth ever again.
Love it.
All the sweets you want,
yeah.
no teeth brushing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be hers.
Yeah.
Are you against pinning kids down while brushing the teeth?
I mean, I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done it, yeah. There's some sort of like snake-like maneuvers that we've gotten into.
I'm
Yeah.
doing this to help you, not hurt you.
Yeah. Is that allowed on this podcast?
What?
That conversation? No.
Yeah. I have had to hold my kids down. Otherwise, his teeth are gonna like go black and yellow, and he's never gonna get a partner.
Do
in
they
life.
hate it generally?
Yeah. I mean,
generally, yeah.
how
I mean,
would
you've got
do
this to
they?
look forward
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. I mean,
If you can
he's
sow the seeds early.
opening his mouth, you know, and he's just like loving it right now. So I
mate, I feel like you've got an anomaly child. Like,
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
don't know. He's fresh, so
Yeah.
maybe, man. Maybe he's perfect.
yeah.
I
yeah.
love that you could tell the different stages of parenting
Yeah,
you're in.
yeah.
I said like, it's a battle, and you're like, yep. And you're like, can you say that?
Yeah.
You're allowed to pin them down. Sometimes you got to.
Yeah.
If my daughter was to run, hers would be it's mandatory to dance when music comes on.
Love it.
She has to dance as soon as like she just starts bobbing, and you're not allowed to not dance when you're with her.
Yeah.
Which is really cute, but also sometimes a bit much.
We have Peppa Pig the remix. We have Baby Shark the remix. That doesn't even need a remix. Like just on repeat, like all the time. And now, like, any song that's just going around your house just way too much.
Oh, my daughter's got into Spice Girls.
Oh,
I
that's
don't
good.
even know how.
Oh wow.
But she is obsessed.
Mate, if you want to be my lover,
Yeah.
I'd much rather that than Peppa Pig and
Yeah.
Baby
Yeah, I will
Shark
take
on
it.
repeat.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Kids artwork, fridge masterpiece or secret recycle bin?
I've got them everywhere. I've got them framed in my office.
Love that.
Framed in the kitchen. I love it.
Jordan?
We're a recycling. They are getting better.
Yeah.
But there's just so many.
As in the quality's getting better.
Yeah, the quality of them's getting, but there's loads of them. I think if we put them up, you wouldn't see our walls.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Tebs?
Yeah, I think I would be a recycling bin guy. I feel like it's a bit controversial, but I like that. I like what you're saying. But I also have seen parents now, they've got their, the artwork inside the cupboard, so you open it up.
Yeah.
and it's there.
Nice.
So it's good, but not good enough
So
to be on display.
I think it's just more.
What's that
I
saying
think
to
it's
your
just
kid?
more the vibe of the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's you do have to say. We've made the conscious decision to sacrifice.
Yeah, I think that seems to me that's what happens.
Yeah, Knox caught Charlie putting one of his favourite piece of art that he created in the bin, and he's like, "Mummy, what are you doing?" She's like, just checking like how big it is. Just just made some story up. Like she was caught out. Okay, toddler snack you secretly love.
I love Wotsits. Maxie is too young to have them, but I feel like that's going to be a father-son tradition. Giant cheesy Wotsits.
Yeah, my boy's obsessed.
Really?
What sips they call them?
Yeah.
What sips?
Not the 7-year-old, the 3-year-old. Yeah,
That's so cute.
yeah.
It's not really a snack, but chicken nuggets.
Oh mate, I've stolen so many nuggets off my boys' plates.
Yeah. Yeah. When they say I've had enough,
Yeah,
normally you'd be like, no, finish your food. I'm like, send it down.
absolutely. Charlie's gone. Oh, did he eat them all? I'm like,
Mine's similar vein. The potato smiley faces.
yes.
Like I love them so much. I just have them for my own dinner. Like, I made some really nice chicken last night with white wine sauce.
Love that.
Instead of rice or chips, I had potato faces.
Oh mate,
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
amazing. I need to see a picture of
Yeah.
that. Okay, what cartoon character do you identify the most with right now?
Bluey's dad.
Absolutely.
Bluey's
Yeah,
dad.
it's a
Legend.
hero. That's where I aspire to be.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to have to think.
You think?
This is like old school because it's going to reveal where I'm at because I obviously don't know the cartoon characters right now, like the trending cartoon characters.
Yeah.
But I think Tom from Tom and Jerry, because I just feel like I'm constantly chasing things and running around and like I'm one step behind.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and I'm thinking about this, I feel like Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maximilian will be Jerry. You will be chasing him everywhere for sure.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think maybe Homer Simpson.
Mhm.
Do you know like when he just can't get it right?
Yeah.
And do you know there's the odd episode where he tries really hard and he still can't get it right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's me sometimes. And I feel like that's being a parent in general.
Absolutely.
You just feel like no matter which buttons you press or what you do, you're not getting it right. And I know he's more incompetence, but I feel like in general, you have those days, you have those weeks where you feel like you're not getting it right.
Yeah, that's it. All right.
Yeah.
Final question. Dad life in 3 words.
I'll jump in. They weren't them. Hectic.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Amazing.
I would go humbling, sleepless right now, and it feels like preparation in a way.
Joyful, challenging, and responsibility.
Love that.
Yeah, nice. Okay, let's start with dad fails. I think if we're gonna just get into it and just maybe we could just talk around, I don't know, what you guys have felt like in your parenting journey, has been 1 or 2 fails. I don't know, like I feel like for me, and you can speak into this if you like, but I don't know, I feel like as a new parent, maybe like pushing my time too hard, as a dad, and we've touched on it a bit already, like just trying to balance, all the various things that as a dad, it feels like you have to sort of balance, and then also trying to be present as well. And it feels like, sometimes, having to send a text saying, oh, I'm going to miss bath time. It's like, it's a small thing, but it feels massive, And that feels at times like a fail to me. I don't know, like just to the 3 of you, like what are some of your fails, or just maybe one? Jordan, maybe you can jump in.
I think I've had the odd one where my kids are loud. And I know kids are loud, but my kids are loud. And I'm constantly trying to say to them, you can do everything you're doing, you can have the fun, but just don't shout. And before you know it, I'm shouting, telling them to stop shouting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not setting the example here that I want them to follow. So that's, I know it's more of a juvenile one, but I do find myself quite often saying we don't do that, and then the next day find myself doing it. I had a really basic fail where I just poked my kid in the eye. I wanted to say well done.
For fun?
Yeah, just for fun. No, I wanted to say well done. He had to comment what he'd done, And I wanted to grab his head and give him a little kiss on the forehead.
Yeah.
Just poked him in the eye. And he
mate.
just started crying. And this really proudful moment
Yeah.
ended up in me going, I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
in front of people as well. So yeah, I think that was a bit of a fail. And then I think, like you said, work stuff. I feel like I fail outside of the home quite a lot.
Yeah, wow.
Part of that is tiredness. Part of that is prioritization of stuff. Not really. I know we're going to touch on that, but yeah, I feel like sometimes, like I said before, I just feel like I'm not doing much right in all aspects.
Yeah.
It's so tough, isn't it? Like, I think when you become a dad, for me especially, it caused me to become really internal. Like, I'm an internal processor, and I was analyzing everything. And because you want to do the best for like this beautiful little human, you start to like go in like overdrive. I was like, oh, okay, what areas can I do? The two areas that I remember like really well, I was spending too much time on my phone, and like it was good things. It was like the side hustle. It was like making income for the family. And my daughter was just like, Daddy, can you just put your phone away? And she was only like 3. And I was like, oh, what kind of image does she have of me when I'm with her? And it's like, we have so limited time with them anyway, that I did not want that to be like the image that she had of me. And then the other one, the work one is huge. Like trying to get the balance right between working, providing, and actually being present, but also not working too much so that when you are present, you're not mentally present. So tough. And I think especially as dads, we can beat ourselves up a lot more. And like, it used to be not talked about a lot, whereas now people are opening up a bit more, which is really helpful. But it's like, where do you go from that? Like, you've got to actually put actionable steps in place. But yeah, it's tough when you get under your own skin and like trying to forgive yourself. And like, they're kids, they will get over it. They're very forgiving, but we can hold ourselves like to that guilt quite a lot.
I've failed a lot. I feel like there's always just different failures that are happening. There's one on our TikTok where we're on a family holiday, and we're like, first family holiday of 4, I've got little baby Nico on my shoulders, and then somehow like he goes flying and then just like falls on the floor like crying, and Charlie's at the camera, she's like, you know what I mean? And so I dropped him. That was a fail. But I think the one that is like etched in my memory, often we're in the car together driving somewhere, see nanas or friends or whatever, and the 2 boys at the back like just fighting, arguing and stuff. So it's not a great environment in the car. And I'm hungry, and whenever I'm hungry, I smash these little 2-egg protein pots. Don't know if you've seen them in like Tesco's, and some people think they're disgusting, like my wife. I think they're amazing. So I went into the shop and I got 2, and I'm in the car and I just started eating it. And Charlie, my wife, she's like, oh, that stinks. Like, she hates me eating any food in the car. She's like, that's so revolting. And she's just like, I can't believe you're doing this. You're stinking out the whole car. And she's like, can you just get rid of it? I'm like, what? She's like, just get rid of it. I'm like, oh, but I don't want to waste an egg. She's like, just get rid of it. Look, the boys are losing it. Keep this place like happy a bit. And I'm like, all right. So I do down her window. I don't know why I did down her window rather than my window, because I should have done down mine, but I did down her window. I went to throw the egg out the window, but I just smashed it right in her face.
Wow.
Like, literally, like the kids are screaming in the back. Charlie's angry with me, and then she gets an egg across her face, and she, like, it was this moment where I'm like, oh, I think we've hit like this.
Yeah, this is it.
This is it. Yeah. And so I haven't eaten a boiled egg in front of her since.
That sounds like a good move.
Yeah. So I guess for any of the dads listening, like, how do they actually deal with dad guilt? Because dad guilt's a real thing, and I think that the longer you are a dad, the more you'll experience moments when you feel it. Have you guys got any sort of tips or tricks or how to deal with it?
I think having a really supportive partner really helps, and being open and honest. So whenever I'm feeling rubbish, like, just voice it. And my wife so often is just like, you are talking nonsense, like, and talks me back up and reminds me good things. If it's like terrible, she's like, yeah, that was a wrong decision, but like, don't dwell on it. And it's like having that person to pull you out, for me, like, is essential. And if I keep it in my head, it just gets worse, and I spiral and I can't get rid of it. And that's my instinct. I want to keep it in. I want to deal with it. But as soon as I get it out, it's like, okay, great. Now someone else is helping me actually process it. That's been a lifesaver.
Yeah. Good. I think kids, it's very easy to not give them the credit they deserve, and like, it's very easy to think that they don't understand. So one thing for me, if I've ever felt, I've been a bit too harsh with them, or maybe I told them off and they didn't, deserve it or anything like that. Just to talk to them and say, look, this is what happened. This is how I felt. If I've lost my temper, I say sorry that I've lost my temper, and all that sort of stuff, and just explain. I think, and I'm a big advocate for saying sorry to your kids, and just say, look, Daddy dropped the ball. I'm sorry. I'll do better. And that just sort of, one, it helps them understand that actually it's more about me than it is about them, that I was annoyed. And two, it models that if you've done something wrong, you take accountability for it and you move on.
Yeah, that's so interesting, just on that sorry point. And something I wanted to unpack really is like around millennial parenting and perhaps what we're doing as parents today versus a previous generation. They call us, or they call you guys, hot dads. Millennial parents,
hot dads.
Apparently, yeah, hot dads. Wow. Who sit in fancy coffee shops and sip flat whites and talk about how we feel and identity and fatherhood, or just generally like just talk, versus perhaps a previous generation where we hardly knew, speaking for myself, what our parents were thinking, hardly. Yeah. And yet we can say to our kids now, hey, you know what, I dropped the ball. I'm sorry. That's something I would never, ever hear from an elder in my culture growing up as a young man. So what are you guys seeing in terms of parenting today and just our approach right now? Anything, any conversations that have been really interesting?
That's a good question.
I think it's like, I absolutely love my parents and the upbringing that I had. And I think the thing that I'm reminded of is just the opportunity that we have. And I look back at my parents, they didn't have the same opportunity that we have, which is actually different when you think of that perspective. It's not that they just didn't, it's they didn't know. And so now the pendulum's almost swung to the other side. And at some point it will swing back again. But it's now just trying to find the balance constantly of, I want to absolutely talk about my feelings, but I also have to be a parent and I have to tell them what's right and wrong. And they have to not just walk all over me. It's that constant, like, just balance and act of how do we get this right? And the problem is no one's got the answer. Like, constantly looking to anyone of authority to tell me what the right answer is. And there isn't. Like, you have to decide, like, your family unit has to decide what those rules are. And that's really challenging because when you become a dad, you don't know what you believe. And like, my wife is the type of person where she will research everything and like she'll send me all this stuff and I'm like, oh, just do it the same way like it's always been done. And then 3 days later I'll go, okay, maybe you're right. And it's like just trying to constantly find that balance. And for me as a dad, a lot of the time, just like being slow, like to anger, like get rid of my ego a lot of the time, and just like don't worry about what other people think. It's so hard to constantly do that. But I don't think there's a right answer, and I think it's just constant balance.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you said there about there's not a right answer. I think there's probably not, but a lot of people will tell you that you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And especially online, we joked before we started recording about front-facing car seats. Go find a video about a kid in a car seat and just look at the comments. And you will just get so much, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that, I did this, shouldn't do that. And there's just constant, even if the judgment's not aimed at you, you can feel very judged because we have all these opinions now that we have access to. Whereas back in the day, I'm a 90s kid, they didn't have that. You know, if someone was going to tell you or make a comment about your parenting, it would be someone within your circle whose opinion you trust, or a stranger that's probably rude and you just, disregard their opinion. Whereas now we have opinions all the time. So I think that's a big thing. I think for me, my dad was a bit of an anomaly at the time because he was a very hands-on dad. What we call now just a dad. It's like he would change nappies, whereas other dads wouldn't. My uncle's got 2 boys, never changed a nappy. And at the time it was like, gosh, he does a lot with his kids. Whereas now that's just the norm for us. So I grew up with a very present, very involved, very hands-on dad who modeled all those things to me. Yeah. And I've said before, my idea of being a good dad is just to try and copy him.
Yeah.
Love that,
which is great.
Yeah. On your podcast, you guys have interviewed like Joe Frost, the super nanny, which a lot of like our parents, that was the only resource they had on parenting. They didn't have like the internet and all the kind of stuff that's out there. You've also spoken to like influencer dads and different people, so a lot of different voices. Are there any sort of like parenting tips from listening to people that you're like, we have applied this to our parenthood?
Yeah, I think with Jo Frost, we said something like, what advice would you give to parents who just want to avoid the meltdown with their kids? I think it was screen time. Like, what are the tools you use if you say no to the iPad? How do you deal with the meltdown? How do you avoid the meltdown? She said, don't avoid the meltdown, just deal with the meltdown. You know, if you say no it's a no and they're going to melt down, don't avoid that by giving them the iPad. Deal with the meltdown in an appropriate way. And I thought that's really good. We quite often will do anything to stop the scene, to stop the noise, to stop the tantrum. Whereas she was going, look, the tantrum's going to happen. Just learn how to manage it. And I thought that was quite a good one for me.
Cool. Yeah. I grew up watching Super Nanny. Like, it was, for some reason I was a kid watching like an adults program, but I felt like genuinely that I was ready to be a parent because of like the influences, and like I was ready for it. I had the naughty step in my back pocket. Like I felt like, oh, it's going to be great. The best advice is just making sure that, like, if you're parenting with someone else, be on the same page, like, and talk about that beforehand. Like, especially if you're in a partnership, you both have to tackle it together. And like, kids, they are amazing, but also if they're getting mixed messages, that's so confusing. And so it can be tough, but if you're going to go through the meltdown, make sure you can handle it. Because if you're not in a good place, it's just going to be messy. So it's just like, just make sure you talk about stuff and know where you both sit. And you can do that afterwards, but just, it helps.
Yeah. And on that point, Jason, how did you find that transition from partnership to becoming a team, but also maintaining the partnership? You know, that's what I hear often is like, there's this massive shift when you're having kids to, it's just teamwork now, you know, and it's on the same page. And, you know, dad said this, what do you think, mom? What does your dad think? You know, and the back and forth, is that something you guys experience?
We're experiencing, now my daughter's getting a little bit smarter. She's trying to play us off each other. If I'm really honest, I think it's quite easy. Like, if you put time and effort into your partnership, I think it's easy, because even my daughter knows that's the most important thing to us. Like, she is the most important thing after that relationship. And it sounds a little bit harsh, but it's true. And that's probably been the easier thing. The difficulty is when you disagree, and like trying to actually land on something when you've got a decision to make, and you're coming from two ends of the spectrum, and it's really difficult to try and find a place where you compromise. Compromise is tough in every decision, but when it's like the life of this child, it's like, I really don't want to let go because I think this is best. But that's probably not a helpful answer, but I think it's become quite easy for us.
Yeah,
it's so tailored to you and your situation. I think if I were to say you, Dan, this is what me and my wife do to handle 2 kids, give that to you, probably wouldn't work for you and your situation. So it's very individual to each situation. I found, and I say this completely genuinely, my wife is my best friend. I know a lot of people say that, but she's my best mate. So doing that together and going into parenthood, it felt like I was losing my friend a little bit at certain times. Do you know, like when you talk about that compromise, sometimes you have to do that with little things like, where do you want to eat? Do you want to go out on a Friday or not? But these massive life decisions, you then have to get on the same page, and having time for each other. That is, I couldn't tell you, last week, I think we went all week without really sitting down and speaking to each other properly. 1, because we were busy, and 2, because she's pregnant. So as soon as she sits down, she falls asleep. So I had a moment where I was like, I just miss my friend. And that's a dynamic that you have to get over. And you find a way, you do. And you find your way.
Yeah. We've been married 15 years now. Wow. And I think, you know, we're always having to like move things around, and, you know, even after 15 years, we're still having the conversation what it means to be like best friends, and to like put the other person first, and to tag in and tag out. Being a best mate means that you're constantly having an honest conversation with them, and ask them how they doing, how you feeling, how you coping at the moment, and then making arrangements so that you both can be happy and healthy. As it's Father's Day, let's chat like masculinity, emotional connection, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, dads are known for like not always being there but not being there. not being emotionally connected. You know, like you said, like my dad was never sort of saying sorry or telling me how he really felt, but it's not that he wasn't sorry, it's just it wasn't part of his language. And now with so much like toxic masculinity around, you know, kids and raising kids, you know, how would you say as dads we can sort of be emotionally connected and raise them up with a healthy understanding of masculinity?
Gosh, if you want to talk masculinity, you've come to the right place. Look at me. That's a joke for any audio listeners. I'm a boy. I think for me, something that is advantageous to me with having a boy and a girl is that I'm teaching my boy how to respect women from a really early age. So this is something I wanted to ask you actually about raising two boys and like sibling fighting and stuff. The kids fight, but I'm saying to my boy, look, you never hit a woman.
Yeah.
You know, you never do it. You don't speak to her like that. And I think that's advantageous to him, that when it comes to dating and when it comes to relationships, he's grown up with women in the house that he is protective over and he looks after, which is, I think, quite beneficial. And even, I was only thinking about that this morning. I've never thought about that before. And I thought, well, I've got a sister, so I knew how to respect her and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think that would be quite advantageous to him. But it's a bit of a minefield, isn't it? It's quite a big topic. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, 'cause you've all got boys, haven't you? I've just got a girl. I'm a girl dad, and I think what you said is so important because the way that I parent is teaching my daughter what to expect and what she accepts from future men. And like when you look at people who end up in relationships where it's abusive, usually it's because that's what they've learned to accept and treat themselves. And so being emotionally available and connected to my daughter is actually how I would teach her what masculinity is. So that when she's older and she's maybe thinking about a partner or what, she knows what level to accept, which is actually holds me to a higher count of how I treat my spouse and all those things. I do think about that like quite a lot. But yeah, I think it is easier with girls on that front because I'm not having to teach a lot more. I'm just having to be who I am. How is it? How is it with boys?
Yeah, like they've got so much energy already, and like I play fight with them, wrestle all the time. But like I say, punching and kicking isn't loud. We can kind of do other stuff. But like Nico, my 3-year-old, did go up and like just kick Charlie in the shin the other day. I'm like, where did that come from? Like just out of nowhere. He's like, yeah. I'm like, and so already like I'm talking to him about like we don't like hurt women, don't kick women, anything like that. But I'm also always trying to model, and I think that's exactly what you're saying. Like I think the best thing we can do is just try and model healthy masculinity and respect and honor, to women. And sort of I just sort of whenever Charlie walks into a room, I acknowledge her. I see her. I'm like, hey babe, I give her a kiss and a cuddle. And I think we've always done that, but I kind of do that more on purpose so that the boys see like, I mean, Charlie's the queen of our house and I want her to feel like the queen of our house and we love her, respect her. And then when, she upsets me or says something rude or I upset her or say something rude, whatever, we purposely make sure we don't have that fight in front of the kids. Of course, sometimes we get caught off guard, but the more we can have those hard conversations in private means that the kids aren't exposed to me saying something I'll regret to a female and Charlie speaking to a male in a way which is not a way that she'd want to publicly speak. So I think just awareness and we have sometimes when we're having a conversation, we're like, let's just put this on pause. Let's just pick this conversation up later because we don't want it to impact the kids.
Yeah, on the modeling point, I feel like, I'm having a bit of a practice run with the modeling, and I think, I can't obviously, tell my son or teach him right now, verbally, but I think I can begin to model what that's going to look like because I think, I'm very much an observant learner. I learn a lot by watching and observing, and I think I actually already think that perhaps he can sense. I wonder if I often ask myself, can he sense how much we just love him? And I want him to feel that sense, and perhaps when he looks at his father, he remembers some of these things that you guys are talking about, like how he spoke to mom and how he served in the house, and he wasn't just away. And I guess going back to some of those conversations around balancing things and, choosing family over work, what does that look like practically? Sometimes the work thing is so pressing that it might even have an effect on the family long term. I don't know. But I think I'm really learning. I feel like with Maxie being only a few months old, I'm learning to model, and I'm learning to place myself in a position where he will look and have thoughts and opinions, and I want those thoughts and opinions to be good, wholesome, healthy, and an example to him of, this is how dad did things. And I think of my own father, like I don't know the guy, like know him, but I got a sense of what he was about. He worked, and he provided for us, and he provided opportunities for us, and he made decisions that placed us in certain spaces. And I think, yes, there's a whole connection piece that's missing there. And I think there's two sides to this coin, right? Is how do you do both well? And I don't know how well you can do both, but you guys are saying so well, like, there is no answer, and I think you have to put your best foot forward. In some of that connection stuff is just so obvious right now and so apparent in our time, and we're carving it out and we're driving it forward. But I do also want my son to see a father who does, put the family first, and make some of those big picture decisions that push us forward.
How are you handling that now? Because 6 months is like the most physically demanding. Like, you need to be there presently, but you run your own creative agency as well. Like, how is that tension like now already playing out?
Yeah, well, that's the big picture thing. I think in my mind, I'm like, if I get my head down now, it'll ease up. But I mean, come on, like does it? I don't know if it does. So I think I've got ideals. I think, you take care of this, that'll take care of itself. And quite honestly, Jason, I don't know. This is a tension in my mind, a back and forth all the time, and I want to be there. And I guess maybe the running your own business thing offers some sort of flexibility. Like, if I can start at midday if I need to, and I can decide, come nursery, what's my contribution, and some of the practical things. Both my wife and I run our own businesses, and that was actually quite a strategic decision. We didn't want to be tied into employment, not necessarily, obviously it's not a bad thing, but I think for us, and what I've seen, and perhaps what we want to cause a shift in how we're parenting is actually maybe we can have some flexibility, especially in the long game, like things like all your kids are young, but things like events and sporting games, and that's a huge gap for me. I just feel like that was so important, and it wasn't there. And even now I'm thinking, okay, we need to make sure that we're just around, so it's a tension. It's a long-winded answer, but it's an ongoing thought pattern.
It's a good answer, man.
Great answer.
Final question then. I know for me, in my fatherhood, my dad life, my faith has played a big part in it. I feel like me having two boys, having my kids now, I get a deep understanding of how my Heavenly Father loves me. And it kind of just gives me more confidence, I think, in my relationship with God, because I know how much I love my boys, and I know how much I do that. And I think for me, just thinking that doesn't even come close to how much my Heavenly Father loves me just gives me a lot of hope. How has your faith or your sort of I guess belief in God impacted your dad life, parenthood?
There have definitely been some times where I've been like, Jesus, I need patience today. And that's not a joke. That is sometimes you've got to draw on the Holy Spirit in your day to be like, I need your help today. Be it physically, emotionally, patience, just draw on that. I think my faith is maybe who I am. So therefore the kind of parent I am is all birthed out of that. Another point, kind of thought you said about how much does God love us. It's been Easter recently as we record this, and I was thinking recently, I was leading worship in our church, and I said if it were me and I had to give up my son for all of you, none of you would be saved, because I would not be giving up my boy. And for God to do that, it's just, to me, that's insane. Not that God's insane, but the thought of it is, to me, that's wild. And I think, how much does he love me to give up his son? Because I wouldn't be able to do that. So I think that's been an insight to how much God loves me to give up his boy.
Love that. What about you, Jason?
I think for me, definitely there's a level of love that I did not know until my daughter was here. And so my daughter was born premature. She had loads of issues. We nearly lost her a few times. And the pain that was inside of me of I would do anything to swap places, and that has left a permanent mark on how we love our daughter. And just having that breadth of understanding of, actually, you know, if God loves me anywhere like this, that's again, I cannot wrap my head around it. And so I've been a Christian for a long time before I had my daughter, and I thought I knew that level of love. And again, as you get older, you just it's so much easier to come to terms with the fact that you don't know a lot of stuff, and you're open to learning a lot more things. And it's that thing of, do you know what, there's so much more of this about my relationship with God that I'm still yet to learn, and I'm okay with that. But that element of surprise of I couldn't even fathom this type of love existed, and now it's every day. And so that's permanently kind of just on my mind.
Nice. Well, you take 6 months in.
6 months in. I think I've just got a bit of a realization, and I think and I hope it's right, that the greatest thing I can pass on and the greatest inheritance is the faith. I think, and you know, whether that's up to me or not, you know, that's a debate for another day. But theologically, when I think about my family line and I'm trying to piece together what worked and versus perhaps what didn't, and some of our mishaps, but actually what I come back to, and in conversations with my uncle I'm having at the moment, and I ask him, I said, hey, what is it like what has always been the thread in our family that has been the good thing, and we keep coming back to faith, you know? And so I'm and there are practical ways in which that is outworked, perhaps, you know. Max is a baby, read him a little Bible, you know, Easter Sunday story, you know, he's not taking it in, but maybe it's the practice, maybe it's the discipline of that, maybe it's the everyday. It's sometimes I don't feel like reading him the Bible, sometimes I just want to play or have a cuddle, but you know, and I'm not one of those people who's like regimented, right? So in all of that, I think in all that I'm doing, you know, I'm trying to put like value on my work or the hustle, the grind, you know, but actually the most important thing I think is the inheritance of faith, you know, and so how can I create a space? I think I'm challenging myself really, and where I can just steward that part of parenting like well, you know, if I can. Yeah. And I'm not perfect. I'm not, like, you know, it's hard, right? I think life is hard, and we've got challenges and pressures, and we're trying to just flip in, I don't know, just get through. But I'm trying to think, come on, how do we do this faith part? Because for us, it's important.
Love that. Well, Jason and Jordan, thank you so much for joining us on the Father's Day special Young Cubs podcast. So grateful for you. How can people follow what you're doing, your channels?
Yeah, we're at Parenting Tools Pod on Instagram and TikTok. We typically post a few times a week, and then the podcast is on Spotify, YouTube as well. Anywhere you can get your podcasts, that's where you'll find us.
Amazing. And Tebo, thank you so much for being my co-host. You'll be welcome back anytime. So maybe if me and Charlie have a little fallout, you can just step in and help.
That's when everyone will know that something's gone wrong there. But great to sit in Charlie's seat.
That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't subscribe to the Young Cubs Parenting Podcast, and share this with any dads or any mums or anyone else who it might help, encourage, or inspire.
Yeah, for sure. And to all the dads, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. See ya.